We're in custom scalars, and if we look at the guide we can see the links where there are many different types of scalars that we can either import libraries or do the hard-coded version. And basically if we look at index.js, what we're doing now is we're basically having a custom scalar type. We're doing a get time and a get time string. The get time string just returns the string in terms of the date now, so when we run that we get time, it just returns the date. When it returns the get time string is the new date, the get time is also the new date. But what we'll notice here is that the date time, we can change the definition time. So for example, get time here has date time, and we're declaring our new top level type called date time, and we have to import in the from GraphQL scalar type a description. Serialize is what gets outputted. Pass the value is what gets put inside. So here when we get the new date value, it gets put in and it gets put out as that to ISO string. This is just part of the boilerplate, the parse literal. It is basically in the abstract in syntax tree. This is actually basically how we have to wire it up. So that would be ast.value, the value coming in, the value here, the value there. So we have query get time, it returns a date, but what format does it come back in? The get time comes back in the date time format. The get time string just comes back as the string version. So we'll see a number rather than type. So if we look at this query here, demo custom scalar, we're using an alias with custom scalar. We're getting the get time and the with string alias for the get time string. If we come into the file and look at it here, we can see that here we get with string, we just get the basically UTC time in milliseconds. But here we've actually changed the format to ISO string, and if we do that again we'll see that that's been updated. So we can define many different scalar types, and if we look at our guide and for example we can go and look at GraphQL tools for scalars here, we can see custom scalars and return on the GraphQL tools, how you can actually install them in and make all different types of scalar types depending what you want. And you can see the custom formula here. The value gets passed, value is serialized out, the value is passed in here, and it has to also work with the ast.kind. This is a part of the boilerplate, and therefore we can return out my custom scalar. So there are different examples for date, validations, enums, all sorts of different things that you may want to do here. But also what we can see is in the Apollo server, rather than importing in a library, as we've just seen, we can actually make our own types. My custom scalar type, here is the code that you can basically return it, and this is the one for date that we've just seen. Explaining a bit more, custom scalars if you want to sort of do different things, restricting numbers, all sorts of different things that we can do. Date time, you can also make one for a JSON object, but be careful with that, because that's where you can return back a sort of a generic object. That could be for security implications, so it used to be a hack to get around without having to define a type, but if you want to do it like this, it's better to actually define a GraphQL type rather than just a JSON object. So that is, as we've seen, is our GraphQL custom scalar types. There we go, and that's it.